everyone. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have enjoyed, this break period. I'm officially glad to say that we're on the first episode of a new season of Into the Spotlight. We have got another set of amazing guests, another set of amazing speakers here to tell you all things sustainable, whether that's sustainable living, sustainable fashion, our relationship with the environment, and more. And what better way to start this with not only my great guest host, Samuel, who's here with me. Samuel, if you want to say hello to everyone, feel free.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming back to another episode. Nice introduction, Jeffrey.
No, thank you.
Don't really know what else to say at the moment, but it's nice to be back. I don't know if there's been quite a few episodes in between that I haven't been in, so it's nice to grace you guys with my awful presence.
No. It's awesome presence. It's awesome presence. But we've also got an amazing guest speaker, and she's a friend of mine. And like I always say, I don't want to bore you with the details of our amazing speakers from hearing it from me, because I can't do them justice. So I'm going to hand over to Penny. So Penny, could you just please tell us a bit about yourself?
Of course. My name's Penny. I'm also known as Threads for Penny on Instagram, and I basically showcase sustainable fashion, pre-loved fashion, upcycles, and any eco swaps. Basically, like an imperfect eco lifestyle that I live. Very imperfect, but I try.
No, that's the most important thing. Trying is how we're going to deal with climate change, and like Tesco say, every little helps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear that your story and that you're very passionate about upcycling. I think, I guess now is essentially the time. And it's really great to see pages like yourself. Oh no, go ahead, Samuel.
I was going to say, for all our listeners, upcycling isn't about cycling up a hill. Could you tell us a little bit about upcycling as well, in case someone doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, of course. So it's kind of taking like a garment, or it could be anything really. It could be a plastic bag if you wanted it to be, and making it into something else. So for me, that means taking something that I might not wear all the time, or that I used to wear and that I don't particularly want to wear anymore, and then making it something that I would wear, making it something that I like, making it something part of my style now. And I think that's really important in the way that kind of fashion changes, because obviously it's constantly changing. Although trends do kind of come back round again, we do need to be able to kind of use our old clothes and things like that, just so we can have a bit more of a circular kind of fashion economy.
That's really cool. So it's like upgrading and recycling.
Yeah.
And upcycling.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I actually never thought of it that way.
I think that's what it is. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
But yeah,
that
maybe.
Makes sense.
And I was just thinking, actually, like, we're going from maybe what was more of a skinny style to more of a baggy style. So it's going to be difficult how to like make skinnier clothes more baggy. I don't know. That might be the way fashion.
Yeah. Well, I've done that actually before with some jeans, because I really wanted like you say, there was the baggy style that was coming in, and I wanted some baggy style jeans, and I didn't want to buy from a fast fashion brand. And a lot of the places where I was seeing those baggy jeans were fast fashion brands. And I couldn't really find any on secondhand sites that I liked. So I just kind of thought, let me give it a go myself. And I got 2 pairs of jeans from a charity shop, ones that kind of would fit me anyway, but I wasn't 100% sure on the shape of them on me. Yeah. And I basically split the trousers and kind of put like a panel in, so that it made it more baggy. And it was just like really fun. Yeah. It was really fun to do.
Flares or something. It's almost like putting in that little end bit, but just down the whole leg.
Exactly. It was really fun. And I made them, they were low-waisted, and I made them high-waisted. And it's just like crazy what YouTube can show you. I literally learned to sew from YouTube, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to be able to sew. I've never done a class before. My sewing is not great. I wouldn't want to invite anyone to look at the kind of inside of the garment and the messiness of it. But to me, if it doesn't break and it looks good on the outside, then you're fine.
That is all that matters. Yeah.
Exactly.
I guess it's one thing before we go into the next question. I do want to say that like learning stuff on YouTube is so true, because I know even not even YouTube, good old BBC iPlayer. Because my sister's a big fan of the Great British Sewing Bee, so she's been watching that going on, and getting some cool tricks and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely, I think. Like especially even shows like that, just seeing how people can change designs. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I'm not an avid fan, but I sometimes watch what my sister does. She was watching the one where they had to like change a hammock into like a piece of clothing, which in itself, yeah, it's really great. But it's also when people were thinking about like where to start, they were just like, I have to, and they have to incorporate like the rope part of the hammock. They have to incorporate that somewhere on the dress. So there was a lot of people thinking, how can I do this? How will it work? And yeah, a lot of the designs were really, really cool. And a lot of, the judges said themselves that, they could imagine some of these being sold off in actual stores. And I think that's a great thing about upcycling and sewing in general. It's you can repurpose things, you can change like what something used to be to something else, and I think that's a great thing.
No, I completely agree. And Great British Sewing Bee is such a good way to kind of showcase that, because they do, like you say, those upcycling segments and things like that, and it's probably really inspiring for people to start making their own clothes, because back in the day, I don't know, maybe 80 years ago, people grew up knowing how to sew and make their own clothes and things like that, which I think is just like really fun to do and really important, because it's a bit of an escape. I mean, maybe for some people it's not, because it can be very frustrating, but but yeah, I love shows like that, and I think it's, like I said, so important to show.
Yeah, definitely. But so our first sort of main question is like, what made you get into upcycling? Like, what was your motivation?
Well, speaking of YouTube, I started watching someone on YouTube just doing like upcycling. I started watching like her fashion videos, and then I started watching some upcycling videos that she would do, and I just really enjoyed them, and I didn't really have it in my mind to start doing it. But then I kind of started seeing, I used to shop in charity shops anyway, but not really just because for cheap clothing and, for a good fashion fix. But, I just kind of started seeing things in charity shops and being like, oh my God, I can make that into this. And wouldn't that look good like this? And I just kind of thought, let me give it a go. So I bought a sewing machine from Hobbycraft. It was like a MIDI machine. And started doing it. And then kind of I set up my Instagram, started following accounts similar to me. And that's when I kind of learned about the effects of fast fashion, and my motivations changed from being something, I upcycle and shop at charity shops for cheap clothes and for fun, to I do this because I don't want to shop from fast fashion brands because they're terrible for the environment, and I'm doing it for an environmental reason. And I don't want to support fast fashion brands that, exploit workers and things like that. So I got into it for one motivation, and then that changed. And now I do it for a very different reason. But I mean, I guess it's still fun and saves money. But the main reason why I stick to it is for the environment and for, workers and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, a lot of people are becoming very aware of it now. There's more TV shows, there's more movies sort of highlighting, what does go on there. Because I think for years people have been buying stuff joking that it was being made in China or something, but not actually knowing like the conditions of the people that were living out in these locations so far away from the countries that we live in when we get them. It would say like made in Indonesia, made in whatever, but that didn't really mean much to people. And I think now, with the help of the internet, with the help of like communications, we're starting to see, and people are becoming more aware of like, the conditions of the people that are actually making the clothes, because, unless it's in your country, before you wouldn't have known, it's outside of your social circles. It's outside of people that might know other people that might know other people. Like it's just a completely different environment. So yeah, now with, communications, different forms of social media, Instagram's been a big sort of force behind, showing people the truth behind certain things. People giving stories, because before, like, I guess you wouldn't really know about another country unless someone had been traveling there and had stumbled. You wouldn't really go to a factory. So it's really.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's kind of part of the reason why maybe some people don't care much about it is the fact that these factories are so far away and we can't relate to it. So, you know what, I think it's probably just human nature. If you can't really relate to it yourself, maybe it's not the first instinct to care about it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But like you say, with social media and feeling a lot closer to those issues, people realize. And then even just having it, in Leicester, where we had workers getting paid £3 something per hour and working ridiculous hours and things like that, even that a little bit closer to home, I think was quite a wake-up call for some people. I hope so anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's really good that you raised that. What happened in Leicester, Penny, because that kind of leads on to the next question of, we look at sustainability, and I guess especially in the last couple of years, we look at how the fashion industry hasn't been very sustainable. So our next question is, how does the sustainability link with the fashion industry?
I think sustainability is just essential in the fashion industry. I don't think we should have a world where sustainability isn't considered or isn't linked to fashion, because it's so important. Like, there's that stat that 10% of the world's carbon emissions come from the fashion industry. And that's crazy. That's huge. And you can't be a sustainable business if you don't treat your work as well. Because of course that's not sustainable. They're working too hard. They're not living. They're not sustaining themselves, etc., etc. You can't be a sustainable fashion brand if you're not size inclusive, because then you're not sustaining people who don't have, straight sizes or conventional. When I say conventional, average UK female size is 16, and some brands don't accommodate for that, and it's crazy. And you can't, that's just not sustainable. So I think it links in every single way and every single aspect. Fashion needs to be sustainable because it needs to be accessible to people. And that's, I guess, why a lot of people shop from fast fashion brands, because it is so accessible and it's cheap and it's quick. You can get it to your door the next day. And I get it. I understand that. And some people, that's the only way they can shop. That's the only way they can buy clothes. And obviously there's no shame in that. But if, all of us are able to, we need to try and, put money into the sustainable fashion brands or shop secondhand. Because otherwise fast fashion is just going to continue to skyrocket. And it has continued to skyrocket despite all of, the Instagram infographics that we thought were making such a difference. I'm sure they did make a bit of a difference, but, Shein just has continued to rise, and it's beyond anything that you could ever imagine. And they just, don't treat their work as well. They mass produce, they have like 5 million trends every second, and it's just crazy. To me, it's mind-blowing, and I just can't wrap my head around it. But I'm in such an echo chamber of people who, try not to buy from fast fashion and preach about sustainability. So I guess it's more difficult to think about people who really just don't care about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think like you said, we're not saying that, if you can't afford sustainable fashion or anything that's sustainable, that, you're doing something wrong. No, clearly, you've got to think about your financial situation. But I think, like you said, there is a tendency for consumers to basically just follow the trend or the norms. For my postgrad, we had like a module all on consumer behavior, and this was one of the things that we did discuss in class of like how sustainable trends work and how companies either, for example, greenwash, and we'll go on to like what that is later. Or essentially, what I'm trying to say when I say greenwash is, a company might say they're sustainable or they've got a sustainable collection, but actually they're not really doing much to address sustainability. And we spoke about that. We spoke about this whole idea of fast fashion brands using celebrities to sort of like encourage it. So it's just like, whether it's Pretty Little Thing or Boohoo or whoever, like, hey, look, this person from Love Island is, they were on it and they were wearing like our great top or the shorts or whatever, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, if you want to look great, you can buy it too. But it's it's encouraging consumers to wear what they've got for a few times, get rid of it, throw it away, when actually, like what we've said before about like Samuel was saying about upgrading and recycling clothes or upcycling, it's all about that process of bringing purpose back into clothing, and it's like what you said before at the start, that even because there's this great book, and again, I always forget the name of it, but it's to do with sustainable fashion. But essentially, it sort of says the same thing of, if you look back at human history over like a long period of time, you can see that clearly we were quite sustainable. We would use stuff until it like weared out, whether it was like to do with clothing, whether it was to do with transport, whatever. We would wear things and use them until they like broke, could no longer be used, and then we would get something new. But he was saying things like the Industrial Revolution, things like colonialism got rid of these trends of, reusing old pieces of clothing and buying into this idea of, actually, no, we're going to, use something for a couple of weeks or a couple of days. Oh, there's a new trend, we're going to buy into that. So I think, like you said, it's just sort of like going back to those days of, if you've got a piece of clothing and it's ripped, like you said, 80 years ago, people would just sew it up, add a new patch, and that would be it. Whereas nowadays, there is this sort of ideal of, if it's ripped, or even if it's not a big rip, and it's just something, like you said, that could be sewed up, we just, we say, no, we're going to get new pieces of clothing. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's like sometimes, a lifestyle for people. And everyone has to make money in this society, in this crisis as well, which obviously I completely get. But when it's a lifestyle, and when it's £1,000 hauls from Pretty Little Thing and stuff like that, it's just and then therefore showcasing them and showing it off and making other people buy what you've just bought just because it's on trend. It's crazy. And a lot of, like you were saying, these brands, they use celebrities and influencers, and a lot of them do it for free. I mean, some of them don't, but they get gifted these items, and that's literally like free PR, because it costs Pretty Little Thing pretty much nothing to make these clothes. So it's crazy how it's become a culture and a lifestyle, and throwaway culture is something that isn't frowned upon anymore. And it's the opposite. Some people don't like to post more than one, their outfit more than once on their Instagram, or they don't like to wear it. They're like, oh my God, it's so embarrassing that I've just worn this outfit twice. And it's crazy. Sorry, go for it.
No, I was going to say also, it just seems that people, now that there's so many options, and it's so the price is so low, and also by buying it online, I think being online also influences it, because when you go to the store, you get a piece that you want, you feel the quality, you make sure it will last a while. If you buy something that's a better quality, you spent more time choosing, you actually really like it, you like the fit, you like everything, you've been around to a few stores, there's probably more chance that you're going to keep that. But I'm thinking, now that everyone's just like, okay, I can quickly order this, it's 10 quid, free delivery. If I don't like it, then well, I haven't really lost much. And then I think people just wear it once, just decide, I don't really want to wear that again. It doesn't feel right. It's like a bit flimsy and whatever. Or like you're saying, like, oh, I've worn this before on an Instagram video, and I don't want it appearing in my story again or something. Like some people do that. So it's an issue. I think is just this sort of, it's gone from like craftsmanship, like good quality wares that actually you've chosen and they suit you and they fit you, and you spent a decent amount of time choosing, to now it's just like a click. It's like an instant sort of click. Okay, it comes. You didn't really put much thought into it, and then it turns out you don't really like it that much. You're not really emotionally attached to it in any way. So I think it is like an issue. It's and the issue isn't just people just chucking it away because the next style has come. It's sometimes even, it's still in style, but they didn't really ever want it. It just was easy and convenient.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it is the instant gratification of it, because we all have that. We all feel that, buying something is quite thrilling, or ordering something and the wait for the parcel to come is really thrilling. And
retail.
And when you have that and then you get it and then it's like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't feel that great, but let me buy another thing and then I'll feel instant gratification again. Like, I completely get that, but you've just got to think those pieces that, like you say, it's like craftsmanship, you curate and you think about, it is so much more satisfying because you're like, yeah, I really wanted this. And I spent my hard-earned money on it, and I'm going to wear it for a long time, and that's great. And with the whole like returning of things, I think obviously it's good to be able to return things, because if it doesn't fit, and we know that sizing can be crazy in the fashion industry, a size 6 can fit, and then in one brand, and then a size 6 in another brand doesn't fit at all. And stuff like that. But I've seen actually recently, some brands are charging for returns, and potentially it's because there are so many people buying clothes to do hauls and to get content and then returning them, that the fast fashion brands are losing money on paying for those returns. So they're starting to make people pay for their returns, which I guess is kind of a good thing in some ways, but not great if you genuinely wanted something and it didn't fit and you just want to return it. But there's also the potential issue of returns not being resold and going to landfill or something like that. It's really difficult to find a balance, and I understand why people feel like they couldn't be more conscious or shop from anything other than fast fashion brands. But I'm here to let you know that it's easy once you get started.
So moving on to that, can you give us some tips? What are the tips to stay sustainable when buying clothing and when choosing clothing?
I mean, my biggest tip is, and one that I've really been trying to do recently, is be more conscious when you're buying. So what I tend to do is, if I find something on Vinted or eBay or something, I save it and then I think about it, and I come back in like a week and I think, do I still like it? Or maybe a couple of days later, do I still like it? Yeah. Leave it for a little bit longer. Do I still want it? Will I wear it? How many times will I wear it? Is it just for one occasion? Is it going to last a long time? Ask yourself all those questions. And if those answers are yes, I'm going to wear it, I want it, I've wanted it for a while, then do it and buy it. And that's when it feels so much more satisfying. And also shop secondhand is always my tip, because there is so much variety, and secondhand shopping apps and websites are just so great. And similar to fast fashion websites where you can kind of search for exactly what you want. I understand maybe charity shop shopping is a little bit more inaccessible to some people because, it can take some time to kind of go through the charity shops and find good things. But yeah, I really think if you can, buying secondhand is really a fantastic way. And if, you can't shop secondhand or you need to shop fast fashion due to accessibility reasons or money or time or size, then that's fine. But when you do, really be conscious. And like I said, ask yourself those questions, really think about it, come back a bit later to buy it, a couple of weeks. And really, really, that's it. And for some people, it's easier said than done, but it's relatively simple.
And there's a website as well, isn't there? There's a website out that tells you how sustainable a clothing company is. I don't know if you can remember. I can't actually remember the name of it. But
Good on you. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think it might be that one.
Yeah, exactly. They have an app and a website, and you can just Google it, and it will give a little score. Mm-hmm. And an explanation as to why it's scored that way, and a breakdown as well. I think it's like ethics, environment, animal cruelty, or whatever. And that's really good to use. Yeah. And also, actually, I used to have this Chrome extension called Greenlight, I think. I wonder if it's still running. It could be. And it was similar to that, where if you went on a website, it would pop up with how environmental the website, the brand was, which is really good and really interesting. Also, another kind of website I find quite useful, someone I know on Instagram, they created a website which kind of collates all of the secondhand apps, websites, etc., into one kind of search engine. It's called Thriftscape. And you can just search in the search bar what you want, and then it will bring up results from all of those different websites. So you don't have to go into each separate app to find what you're looking for. You can just have it all in one place and then click on it, and it'll take you straight to that app or that website, which is really useful if you don't feel you have time to go through different apps, etc.
Yeah, definitely.
We're really lucky that we have these kind of resources as well to guide us through.
Yeah, because if you don't have them, you're not really sure like how. And I think, Jeffrey, you said you were going to sort of touch on this before, but with so much greenwashing, you're never sure if someone's lying. When you look at their page, they're like, oh, we're planting trees and this has come from organic cotton or something. But you never actually know, like, what is the environmental impact of buying from this company? How good are they? If they're sort of publishing all of their resources and making the website look super like green, environmentally friendly, but then there's no actual assurance on there, hey, we're carbon neutral, or we're actually like reducing our emissions anyway. It could just be that, that they're making it more of a premium product by making it green. And then also trying to push I know they try to push, so H&M, their green stuff is more expensive, but then how much of that is actually helping the environment versus how much of that they're making a profit from? So are they actually just making a profit from people? I don't know. Like, are they making a profit for like a good reason? Is it like they're not actually making much profit? It's just to offset the carbon that it would have been, or are they just sort of thinking like it's an easy way to make money and people think that we're doing a lot to help? Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. It's so difficult to know, and they're so convincing because you really have to like look deep to see that, oh, it's only 10% of recycled polyester or whatever. And even then, that's just not good enough. And when they're saying they're making green collections and they're saying, okay, we're trying to be more sustainable, and they're working with celebrities on their green products, and sometimes I've seen a couple of sustainable fashion advocates on Instagram work with H&M or something like that, and on their like green collection, and it's very, very convincing. And when you see people that you trust and and then these big brands that are so well known going, well, look, we're really sustainable, then you're gonna be like, oh yeah, well, of course they are. But when they're still making thousands of products every week, probably hundreds of thousands of products every week, it's just not sustainable. And fast fashion can never be sustainable, which is, you know, the whole brand of H&M is the fact that they have trendy clothing and they come out with loads of styles. You just go into their new in section, and it's thousands. How is that sustainable? It's not.
Yeah.
And that's probably my biggest tell. That's the thing I look for. I was looking at a brand called New Girl Order because I saw it on Instagram and I wondered if they were sustainable or not. And I couldn't really find, like, I don't think they're kind of well known enough to be on Good On You and things like that. And I just looked at their new in and they had loads and loads of different styles. And it was also like quite cheap, you know, like a crochet bag was only £18, and crochet can't be replicated by machinery. So that's hand done by someone. And that takes so long, and it just could never be worth £18. Could never. That if it was worth £18, that would be what, 2 hours on a nice wage? No, surely not. Surely not.
Yeah, to then ship it and make a profit as well. You're thinking like, you know, the people that have made that have probably got nothing for it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's a difficult thing. And I think one of the things that, you know, we'll touch on Penny's work with the sustainable company later on. But one of the things that helps with that is definitely eco labels. So, you know, whether it's a B Corp certification or there's like a whole list that helps you to know as a consumer, you know, how good is this company being sustainable? I know we had a discussion about this in class of like how even cities can be deemed sustainable, because there was I think a city in Dubai that was named as like the most sustainable city in the world, and we were saying, you know, how could they know that they're they're very sustainable? And they you know, the person who was doing the presentation was saying that actually, you know, they have to do like a thorough check. There's things that go into like what type of materials they used in the construction of the city, you know, whether the types of energy they use that's available to them, do they focus more on renewables and things like that. So I think eco labels can definitely help. And that's one of the things that I guess when it comes to whether it's recycling or sustainability in general, that understanding the labels is definitely a key in the right direction and a foot in the right direction.
I 100% agree. And like you say, becoming a B Corp, I think, is a pretty intense process in terms of there's lots of things that they have to meet to be able to become a B Corp. But I think also part of the problem is that there isn't so much that kind of status or regulation for fashion. And where there's no regulation or not enforced regulation, it's just, you know, out of control. And how can we possibly make it better if the governments can't intervene and won't intervene?
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I guess that's kind of nice because, you know, talking about B Corp certification, you know, that sort of links into the company that you're working with and you're an ambassador for. So Reeboks, tell us a bit about them and some of the work that you're doing.
So they help kind of bring sustainable tech into the kind of sphere of sustainability, because when we think of sustainability in terms of consumerism, I don't know about you guys, but fashion is the first thought, but really tech is also a huge thing as well. You know, buying a new iPhone or a new camera or whatever, and that can not necessarily be sustainable, even though, you know, with phones we tend to keep them for a long time and things like that, which of course is good. But Reeboks basically sell refurbished phones, and they have AirPods, etc. And I think they're looking to expand to, you know, loads of tech. They're quite new, but essentially I think they're just great at sort of paving the way for that, and for kind of helping people think more about sustainable tech and how they can be more sustainable when they're wanting to upgrade to a new phone and things like that.
Yeah, nice. I actually thought you said Reebok, the clothing brand, and I was like, oh, they're going sustainable tech. I was like, that's really weird. That is like a bit out of their sphere, but okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Reeboks, nice. Yeah. But that's I mean, with our technology, there's so much tech that comes through every household ever. Just TVs, telephones, sound systems, like you're saying, even the earphones and everything. And I think mainly for like computers and telephones, there's like these minerals that aren't anywhere else on the earth. They're like limited resources that are being depleted because of just overuse of tech. Like, and even with, I think it's Apple products that have the MacBook like silver case or whatever, like the resources that go into making all of that must be like phenomenal, let alone all the little compartments and things. So yeah, it's a massive sort of accepted thing to throw away, isn't it? Really, it's just sort of, I've got a new one, this one doesn't really work anymore, it's a bit slow, so I'll just chuck it away. And I think more and more places are coming out with recycling schemes. But so Reebok actually takes the old phones, I guess anything that's broken or not working gets replacement parts, and then can just sort of resell that on. So yeah. And I think there's nothing wrong, and I don't know if it's still a stigma, but there's nothing wrong with like fixed items. What are they called when they send them back and you like, they're always a little bit cheaper.
Refurbished?
Yeah, refurbished.
Sorry, I don't know. It was a complete mind blank, but there's nothing wrong with refurbished stuff. Like it's the exact same quality. There's probably nothing wrong with it. Like if the battery life is failing, they would have replaced it. So there's no real reason why not. I mean, I always buy sort of secondhand phones anyway. So, and if you go to, I think the company's called CEX as well, which is another, I guess it's sort of similar, but I don't think they fix old broken ones. But they normally come with a 24-month warranty anyway. So even if you're worried about something breaking, if you buy it from an actual retailer, not eBay or whatever, then they do actually come with some decent warranties. So.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes complete sense. And Reeboks, they're really great to work with. I mean, when I first kind of, I don't know what the right word is. When I first started collaborating with them, they sent me a little box with some sweets and like a little plant.
Oh.
And it was great. And they gave me the option to have like a little eco phone case, which I didn't take, but maybe one day I'll get one. But yeah, it's just really nice. And I went to a PR event that they did not too long ago, and it was a sustainability panel. And it was just so interesting, and they live streamed it. They had people from a travel company, from Wearing, which is an app that digitalizes your wardrobe, which is great because it's so easy to forget the things in the back of your wardrobe, and sort of other brands and corporations. And it was really, really fascinating and interesting to be there and to speak to these people and listen to them speak about how they achieve sustainability and how you can be more sustainable when you travel, and things like that. And I think it's so important that they're opening up the conversation. They're not just going, come to our event, we're going to talk about sustainable tech and only Reeboxed. Actually, they're getting a whole load of people, like-minded people together, and opening up the discussion to make it broad. And I got to meet some people that I knew from Instagram, that I'd met on Instagram, and it was great. And I don't think I would have met up with them at that time if it hadn't been facilitated by Reeboks. And now it's like even nicer to speak to them on Instagram, and nicer to put them in real life instead of them on a screen. And I think it's just, it's really great to work with them because they're so inclusive, and it's not just all about Reeboxed and tech. It's broader, and it's about fashion and travel, and it's just great. I love it.
That is great, actually, and that shows they really care as well. Because, like, yeah, like you're saying, they're not just about like, oh, here's our product and that's it. But like, there's so much like to tackle climate change. It's about every issue. So the companies that are like serious about tackling climate change issues, sustainability issues, they are gonna say like, look, there's other companies, you can use these as well. And like, yeah, it's like less ego. It's more of just like sort of accepting that we've all got to work together in every sort of aspect of our lives to try and fix the issues that we have. So yeah, no,
exactly. And I love seeing brands. I saw a sustainable deodorant brand recently. I can't remember what they were called, but someone sort of commented, I think it was on TikTok, and they were like, oh, what do you think of your competitors, like Wild deodorant or something like that? And they're like, oh, we're so glad that sustainable deodorants and natural deodorants are becoming more of a thing out there, and we're so happy that we have these people, these competitors, and if our product doesn't work for you and theirs does, then that's great. And I think that's such a healthy way to have an economy and business, and because there's always going to be competition out there in our capitalist society. So why not make it healthy competition and encouraging to other sustainable brands?
And I think one thing to add on to that is, I think 100%, like what you were saying about the issue of unsustainable tech and how things go. I think like it's funny you mentioned that, because that's literally what my dissertation, fingers crossed, will be about. Is looking at how like e-waste is how it's termed, but how all this waste essentially can be impacted by consumer behavior. And I know, like you were saying, Samuel, about the rare metals within electronics. One of the things that from my undergrad, one of the lecturers did is he basically said, he brought out his phone and was just like, I've had this phone. This was in 2015. So he said he had his phone since 2012, and was just like, how many of you, between that time period, have had a phone upgrade? And, quite a few people put their hands up. And he was just like, all right, cool. Put your hands down. He said, then put your hands up if you know what exactly is in your phone. So not necessarily just like, there's metal, plastic, and glass, but the specific type of metals that are in it. And a few people put their hands up, and he asked them, and some of them got them right. And then he was just like what you were saying, Samuel. Did you know that there's a lot of rare metals that go into this, and these metals are only currently found on Earth? And eventually we'll reach a point where we can't use new electronics because they'll essentially only be in the electronics that are currently available. And he was saying, as students, do you need to necessarily always get a 2-year or 3-year upgrade if the phone's working? Because I think, like you were saying, like you guys were saying, that I know, at least in my family, that like even if the phone stopped working and someone wants to get an upgrade, it's always used by someone else within the family for something else, whether that's for business or, they're using it to like film TikTok or whatever. Like they always use the phone for another purpose. But like you said, I think there is a tendency for people to be like, and I think, and I mention my consumer behavior module all the time. I love it. Like literally the iPhone, we talked about Apple and how Apple has basically convinced people that, we'll release the iPhone 13. Won't be any different from the 12, apart from like a bigger camera, maybe like the size is just a tiny bit bigger, add a few new features, and then that's it. And people will be like, oh my gosh, I have to queue up, wait outside the store for like ages so I can just buy the latest one. And as I always joke, and I joked on our birthday video, that I've never met someone who hasn't broken an iPhone in their life if they've had one. So I always just feel like what we were saying, that it's all about, being sustainable where possible. And I think a great thing, because I've checked out Reebok's their website while we were doing it, is a great thing is it also gives you the opportunity to sell your old electronics and your old phones, which I think is definitely something that, for people who are, whether you're a student or you're just looking to get an extra bit of cash, I'm sure around the house you can find at least one electronic or at least one phone that you don't need or you don't use anymore, and you're just like, you know what, I can get rid of it. Just take it. Yeah.
Check your drawers. Have you chucked in like an old phone like a while ago? Like you get a bit of money for it, you can reuse it. Yeah.
Honestly, and it's so true. So you heard it here first. If you're looking to get some extra cash, Reeboks is the place to go. But yeah, I want to. I guess we've come to the end of the episode, and I just want to say a huge thank you, Penny, for being an amazing guest. I'm sure. Oh no, honestly, it's been great to learn more about. I guess we might have started off with sustainable fashion, but sustainable tech is a great place to end it. And I think it's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool to like see the amazing work that you're doing, and yeah, we look forward to seeing more of what you do in the future. Now, before we let you go, some of our listeners or people watching on YouTube might be saying, I really like Penny. I really like the stuff that she's doing. I'd love to know more. Where can they go to find out a bit more about you?
So you can go to Instagram, and it's at Threads for a Penny, creatively named by my friend. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I do have a TikTok, but I don't use it very much. Maybe I should start using it more. And it's also linked to a Facebook page that I also don't really use very much. But if people started following more, maybe I would. Yeah, that's where you can find me. And I'd like to say thank you so much for having me. It's been really interesting and really nice to have these discussions with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to our wonderful audience. We'll catch you in the next episode of Into the Spotlight. But for now, just take care, look after yourselves, and we'll see you all soon. So that's a bye from us, and enjoy your day.